Hey guys, Weeby News here. So today I'm going to be doing my review for Danganronpa 3 episode 6, Future Side, and oh my god, I did not think that this episode would be better than the last episode, but it was. So much hype. This was such a good halfway point episode. And that reminds me, I really can't believe we're already halfway through Future Side. And we'll be halfway through Despair Side on Thursday. But before I begin this review, I do want to point out a couple of things. The first thing is a little tidbit of information in the last Future Side episode review that I didn't notice until I'd already uploaded the video. And that is that the sword that Izuyoi sees in the library is eventually by Munakata at the end of the episode, implying that he went to the library at some point and took it. I'm not completely sure what this means. I don't have any really well thought out theories for it, but if you have any theories of your own, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section. And the next theory is by the Tumblr user HopeXDespair, and it has to do with the attacker alternating. So recently, a lot of us have noticed that the opening scene deaths don't exactly match up with the characters' deaths in the anime. So this user pointed out that maybe instead of the death being next to them in the opening being their own death, it could be the death that they commit as the attacker. So if we were going off of this theory, we could see that Chisa's death in the actual anime sort of mirrors Great Gozu's, and Great Gozu's death mirrors the opening version of Tengen's death, and Seiko's death mirrors the opening version of Izuyoi's death. I personally really like this theory. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially because of the original theory being that the death in the opening reflects their actual death in the anime doesn't add up anymore because Seiko's death in the opening does not match her death at all in the anime. The only one in the opening that honestly completely matches the death in the actual anime is Bandai's, and I think that might be because the way in which he dies, because he goes against his forbidden action. And also, some of you guys might be wondering, well, you know, Izuyoi died this episode and his death does not match up with any of the deaths in the opening. But I believe that might be because he was not actually killed by the attacker, but I will talk about that a little bit later on in the episode review. And without further ado, let's go ahead and begin the official episode review. So in the opening of this episode, we see Hagakure roughing it outside of the Future Foundation building when he is then moved to do some fortune telling. This is when we see his fortune prediction of everybody holding hands and dancing, showing that he predicts there will be a happy ending to this. But as we all know, Hagakure has a success rate of only 30%, so the probability of there being a happy ending to this anime still seems pretty slim. So the next scene I want to talk about really quickly is this flashback that Munakata has about him, Chisa, and Juzo. In this flashback, Munakata shares his dreams of opening an overseas branch of the school so that he can eventually take power. Chisa and Juzo both agree to work with him, and this is where we both see them officially decide to try and become a security officer and a teacher at Hope's Peak Academy. And at the end of the scene, we see them pose and take the picture that we see on Yukizome's desk in the Despair arc. And after Munakata finishes this flashback, we see him actually stab Chisa in the chest. So this whole scene is pretty odd. I originally thought that maybe he was trying to prove to himself that Chisa was dead, that maybe he still had some hope and he had to stab her in order to just get rid of it so he could focus on his real agenda. But I saw this interesting post by the Tumblr user Komaesa, and I will of course as always link their blog and the original post in the description. They post a lot of really cool theories and character analysis stuff on their blog, so I highly recommend you guys check it out if you're into that kind of stuff. But in this short post, they basically point out that him stabbing Chisa here could be his way of confronting her memory and symbolically cutting ties with her and killing his dream. And I really like this idea because it really connects with the flashback that he has just seconds before. And if he is confronting Chisa and trying to kill his dream, it does imply that I'll have to confront Juzo at some point as well. Which I do want to point out the fact that Juzo does not appear in this episode at all, which is honestly really strange. But in the next scene, Hidaka fakes us out yet again and makes it look as if Kirigiri is dead, but in actuality this is all Naigi's dream. This honestly scared me so much. I would have been really surprised if Kirigiri would have died halfway through the anime. And I have to say I was really happy that it was just a dream. But also we see in this dream that Naigi has imagined Munakata basically antagonizing him and telling him that this isn't a game and that there's no rules and that his platitudes won't save him. And and this sort of foreshadows some of Nagi's decisions later in this episode, where he realizes that this game is very different from the last and that the rules don't trap them as badly and that they can actually get outside help. But of course, I will talk about that a little later on. First, I want to talk about Kirigiri, Kizakura, and Ryota and them running into not one, but two dead bodies. And before they find the bodies, Kizakura is sort of teasing Kirigiri in this, and I think he's messing with her, but it does come off pretty harsh, and Kirigiri does not take it well. He states, "You know, I think that murders only happen because there's a detective. The detective's very existence is what causes murders." Then he says that he's just messing around, but a buddy of his does hate detectives. And if you guys remember in the first game, Kirigiri does mention the fact that her dad hated being a detective and ended up quitting because of it, so I think Kizakura is referring to him when he said that. As for why he's doing this, we do see that Kizakura and Jin Kirigiri hung out together in Despair Arc. It seems that they could be friends, so I think he might be probing Kirigiri and maybe messing with her a little bit to see her true feelings for her dad and how she feels after his death. But this is total speculation on my part. But next we see that Ryota and Kirigiri run into Izuyoi's corpse, while Kizakura finds Seiko's. So the really important thing that I want to point out here, and the reason why I believe that Izuyoi was not in fact killed by the attacker, is because in the previous episode we see that Seiko is stabbed in the heart with the Monokuma knife, like everybody else killed previously. But in this episode we see that the knife has been removed and is now placed inside of Izuyoi. So to me this seems as if somebody killed Izuyoi and took the knife from Seiko and stabbed it into Izuyoi to make it look as if the attacker had done it while everybody was asleep. So initially I had a couple of theories regarding this, but none of them were very well thought out. But I did watch OmegaValwin's previous review and he had a really interesting theory regarding Izuyoi's death. And the gist of the theory that he mentioned was that a lot of us believe that Izuyoi's forbidden action is that he cannot eat Raruka's sweets because he absolutely loves them, but has refused them ever since the game started. So the gist of the theory is that Raruka could have forced Izuyoi to eat one of her sweets, accidentally killing him, and then trying to cover up the death by stealing the knife that pierced Seiko's chest and putting it in Izuyoi's. And in order to cover up how purple and gross he would look, she more than likely put makeup on him to cover it up, and you can also see that later Kirigiri has a sort of powder texture on her finger when she's investigating Izuyoi's body, which could very well be makeup. I honestly really like this theory. I think it's really interesting, and I think it makes sense as to why Raruka tries to lead the group away from Izuyoi's body as well. I've also seen a good bit of people speculating as to why Kirigiri moved the body from the hallway into the library, and I personally don't think there's too much significance there. I think she might have just moved it because it seems like the lighting in the library is a lot better than it is in the hallway, and in the previous episodes it has seemed like Juzo has been lurking the hallways quite a bit, ready to antagonize them, so I think this could be a way for them to try and avoid him as well. But now I want to talk about Nagi, Asahina, and Miya/Monika, and in this scene Miya connects to the security cameras and shows Nagi and Asahina Tengen's dead body. Once seeing that Tengen is dead and realizing that it was at the hands of Munakata, Nagi begins to despair, but then Monika takes it upon herself to fill him with hope by giving a huge speech and pointing out a secret message that Tengen left behind. And honestly, something that I think is really weird about this is the fact that in the last episode it seems as if Tengen is using his last breath to say some final words to Munakata. And not only this, but also that there's a minute left remaining until everybody is injected with the sleep gas. So I personally find it hard to believe that Tengen, being in the state that he was in, had the amount of strength to write out such a detailed note in that time frame with that little amount of energy he had left, especially if he was trying to hide it from Munakata. I mean, Munakata would have to have left and then he would have only really had 30 seconds to do it. So unless he was faking how bad off he was, I don't really see how he could do that. And even if he was well enough to write a message to Nagi, then why would he choose to write that specifically? In the previous episode, he told Munakata that he knew who the traitor was, so I don't understand why he would leave a vague, encouraging message to Nagi instead of just writing who the traitor is. But I don't know, I might be totally overthinking this. I really haven't seen anybody else talking about this, so I just wanted to bring it up. I think it's a little weird, but I tend to want to question everything, so it could definitely be me overthinking things. But in this episode, I also wanted to point out the fact that Monika Monica is the one to notice this message in the first place and point it out to Naegi. I honestly had a half-second thought that maybe she planted it there, but I don't really know what the end goal would be to that or how that would help her in any way. And this also all sort of connects to the fact that Monica has been encouraging Naegi a lot in this episode and in previous episodes as Miea. And my best guess as to why this could be is that maybe she wants to really build him up and make him think that he has a chance and that hope will succeed overall, just to crush it with despair and make it a million times worse. But later Naegi realizes that there's no need to play Monokuma's game and that they can end up destroying it instead, and Miea, aka Monica, is actually the one to suggest that they could call somebody from the outside to help. Again, I think it's weird that she's helping them so much. But moving on to the call with Tagami, we learn that there actually isn't any broadcast of the Future Foundation members killing each other. So we also learn from this conversation that Munakata had planned to send a peacekeeping squad to Jabberwock Island to kill the remaining 77th class members regardless of what the outcome of the meeting was. He also states that there may be some connection between what's happening to Naegi and them and the attack on Jabberwock Island. He then mentions that he sent his forces to that island as well, and that he'll be on his way to Naegi soon. And once Tagami gets off the phone, we also learn that the real Mie Gekigahara is in fact dead. And not only is she dead, but that she was also killed in the same exact way as the security guards in the first episode. Tagami then decides to leave it alone because if he did reveal to Naegi or Asahina that the Mia that was with them is a fake, then there is a possibility that she could have tried to have killed them. Then Tagami does reveal that he believes that Monica Toa is behind this and that she's still hiding in Toa City. And in order to stop her, he decides to call Kamaru and Fukawa and to ask for their assistance. And I have to say that I am so happy that Tagami, Fukawa, and Kamaru are all included in this anime. Everything in this anime has been building up really well, and it does seem as if we're gonna get a proper climax to this story. And seeing that Fukawa, Kamaru, and Tagami are now in this, I believe there is a good chance that we will see the Warriors of Hope as well. And right before I talk about the biggest thing in this episode, I do want to point out this really quick shot at the end of Munakata. And in this shot, we see that Munakata has something different around his wrist and that he's also wearing different clothes. And I wasn't sure what this was at first or what he changed into, but I saw this post online by Danganmiokay on Tumblr, and they pointed out that it looks as if he stole Tengen's Chusen and put it on his wrist, and also that he might have stolen Tengen's jacket as well. And finally, I want to move on and talk about this really big reveal that we got at the very end of the episode, and that is that we see this massive fleet heading towards Jabberwock Island, and then we see what appears to be Hajime, but when he opens his eyes, it actually seems as if it's Izuru, and then he states, "This is so boring." I mean, this is just insane. This was such a good episode. I can't even reiterate it enough. But I've seen a lot of people sort of doubting whether or not it's Izuru. I believe that it is. At the end of Super Danganronpa 2, we hear Hajime in sort of like a narrator fashion saying that he will continue living as himself, and then we also saw him standing on the island looking at Kirigiri, Tagami, and Makoto's ship leaving, and we don't actually get to see the front of him in that clip, but we do see the back of him, and we see that his hair is different, and most of us assumed that this meant that he was in fact Hajime, and that maybe he was in fact speaking those lines when we heard them at the end of the game. But it seems that it is in fact Izuru instead. And so I think a lot of people that I have seen who are speculating think that maybe Hajime is like half controlling him and the other half is Izuru or something along those lines. And as of right now, I don't really think there's any way any of us could make like an educated guess about it. I mean, I went back and rewatched the ending to Super Danganronpa 2 and I didn't really see anything to help me sort of make a theory. So I might wait a little while longer to really give my theories and stuff about it. Although I will say that I've always had suspicions that Hajime would in fact wake up to be Izuru in the real world, and you'll probably notice that in my reaction. So as of right now, I don't really know if maybe Hajime has more control now, or if it's gonna stay sort of like it is after he first gets Izuru put inside of him. I'm not completely sure, but I do have to say that I am so excited about it. I really cannot wait to see what happens next. But anyways, this is the end of this review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I have a feeling that you did. And I did want to thank you guys for watching these videos, watching these episode reviews, and leaving likes or comments or sending me messages and theories and things like that. I really do appreciate it. I will say I haven't replied to a lot of my Tumblr messages sent recently because I've been debating on whether or not saving them to use them for a comment special or if I should just answer them now, but there is a lot of them. There is a ton of them, so I apologize again if you sent them to me and I haven't replied. And I did mention before making a video responding to messages on Tumblr and comments and things along those lines, so since we're at the halfway point, I do think I'm gonna try and get that out sometime this week, or at least start on it. These episode reviews have actually taken a lot more time than I thought they would, so it's been a little hectic trying to find time to post different videos besides the reviews. But again, thank you guys for watching, thank you for keeping up with my reviews. I really do appreciate it, and if you enjoyed this video, it'd really be awesome if you left a like or a comment. It really does help me out, and I will see you guys real soon. Bro! What is wrong with him? Don't! No. What? It has... This is a dream, right? This is a dream. It's totally a dream. Okay. This is definitely a dream. It's like... Okay, please. Wake up. Okay, okay. We're good. I would have freaked out so hard. Thank God. Thank God. Oh, no way! Seriously? He's dead too? Dude, he didn't get like any character development. Nice. Oh, there he is! We were all wondering. Yay, do I get to see them? Yay! That's awesome! Yes, the gang's all back. This is awesome. Yes! Oh my god! The hype is so real. The hype is so real. Oh my gosh. Who are you? Are you Hajime or Izuru? I had a feeling. Oh my god, that's so awesome. Oh my god, that's great. The hype is too real.
Subscribe to Weeby News for more hope-filled videos.